Happy Thursday, everybody. This is Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am joined from across the pond by two fabulous European moving and relocation experts, Wiebe van Bockel, Chief Customer Officer at Voerman Group in the Netherlands. Hi, Wiebe. How are you?
Hey, nice to meet you, Ben. I'm doing well. So really nice to be on your show and look forward to spending some good time.
It's great to have you. And Mark Muss, MW Relocation Services, Switzerland. How are you, Mark?
Fantastic, and it's great to just be part of your podcast, Ben. Thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure also seeing you guys in the comments and watching too. And Mark, you were part of our first happy hour experience as well. So, it's been such a cool project for me, just if I could share just for a moment, doing these things and just being exposed to so many people from across the globe. And it's been a real honor to see, folks like you both check in, and want to share in this journey with me. So I appreciate it so very much. And to those of you who are out there watching right now on LinkedIn, please go ahead, leave a comment. I want to know who you are. I want to know where you are. I want to know who you work for. I want to give you a shout out and give you some recognition. I appreciate it so much. We're also going to be taking comments and questions and reading them live here on the air and responding to those because it is a dialogue. This is a community. Also, if you are on Facebook or YouTube, please check in, leave a comment as well. Want to hear all that stuff. And as you're watching right now, we're seeing people filtering in right now on Facebook and YouTube. Go ahead, hit those likes. I personally love the celebration and the hand clap. If you want to do the heart,
bring it on.
If I say something stupid and you want to do the face, I mean, whatever it is, just share. Participate. I appreciate that. So really quick, let's go around the horn right now. Where in the world specifically are you? I know I listed your countries, but can you give me an idea of your city, your location, your status right now? Wiebe.
Yeah, so I'm currently at home. So and I'm living in a small place south of Rotterdam in the Netherlands and called Alblasserdam. And I'm overviewing a typical Dutch scenery with windmills and cows. So that's where I'm locally based at the moment. And we'll talk about COVID probably a little bit, but luckily in the Netherlands, we are still able to go to work if we want with some limitations, but I spent the day in the office, which was great. So happy to.
And have the tulips begun to blossom yet?
Yeah, full on. It's the full season, and till an extent that is that's also a shame because we can't export them at the moment what we normally do. So that is they're very cheap in the moment here in the Netherlands and very much available. So it's tulip season.
Well, I'll have you know I bought some for my wife for Easter, so I'm doing my part to support.
Very good, very good.
And Mark, where in Switzerland are you right now?
So that's of course going to be part of later on, I think. But I actually live just over the border in France. I live 10 miles away from the Swiss border in France. I'm what's called a cross or a transfrontalier. I cross the border when I can nowadays every day to go to work in Switzerland. So I'm in France where we're in lockdown until the 11th of May. But our company and what we do is in Switzerland. We have offices in Geneva and Basel, and we cover the whole of Switzerland from there. But in Switzerland, there's a lot of border workers who cross every day to go into, for example, Geneva, 120,000 people a day. So I'm currently in France and Annecy in lockdown, with the right to go to Switzerland because I have a work permit there. But so I'm in France, Annecy, up in the mountains, and I'm exactly opposite of Wiebe, who's in probably minus 20 feet. I'm at about 1,000 feet. So there you go.
Wow, cool. And we're getting people checking in right now. Great to see you, Mark, Wiebe, and Ben from Mel Smith at DeWitt. Hey, Mel. And we got some folks checking in here on LinkedIn. We got 23 folks watching us on LinkedIn, 13 on Facebook right now, and growing. Guys, if you didn't hear before, please hit that like button. Lets everybody know we're live right now. Danny Vandermeer. Hi, guys. Mark, Wiebe, Ben. Thanks for having my friends from CH and NL here. CH, is that?
Switzerland.
That's Switzerland? Totally threw me off.
Confederation Helvetica, because Switzerland is a confederation of cantons or states. So CH is actually like USA for America or NL for Netherlands. CH is actually the code for Switzerland.
And this is also great because I'm removing my American blind spots every day when I'm on this program. I'm getting an education, a global education. I appreciate that. I thought Helvetica was a font. So there you go. I appreciate that. Bud Cole, Bud from Beacons Northwest, Walla Walla, Washington. Great lineup. How about them Cowboys? Agreed, Bud. John Case Quality Moving, Long Island, New York, Georgia. Hi, guys from sunny Florida, Georgia from Florida. I love it. That's my Florida Georgia line for the country music fans out there. Kathleen Baker, Kathleen from Dallas. Wiebe, please tell Shalini hello.
Well, I will do that for sure. She's supposed to listen in, so I will bring over her regards. So we have a big community over the world, so look forward to talking to everybody.
So we've got so many topics and so many things, and really Love and Relo is about personal stories. So yes, we bring a lot of expertise, but I also want people to get to know you each as people. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about each of you, kind of your personal perspective. I think I'm going to start here with Mark. Mark, we talked a little bit before the show about multiculturalism. Interacting with different languages. This is something from an American perspective that we don't do quite as much as the Europeans. Could you talk a little bit about the multicultural aspect from a European perspective?
Well, the most amazing thing was, in fact, it's quite interesting that in the last 2 days, we've been cleaning out our home office, and I came amongst a whole bunch of coins in a box. And I had money from Ireland, I had money from Netherlands, Belgium, France, Germany, and Austria. And I put them all in a pile. And then I showed my children, I said, these are all different countries. And they said, yeah. I said, but now it's the euro. And they're like, what? I said, yeah, you need to, this was, when we traveled, we used to have to go from country to country and change our money. Almost like in America, you go from state to state and change your money. And then, of course, the euro came, and that was lessened in Europe, although it still exists between some European states, but it's certainly less than it's ever been. And that, for me, is a good example of how multiculturalism is. To understand that before, what many singular things can be can then become one. And for some of us, it becomes second nature, a bit like myself. I mean, my story is that I come from a German father with a French mother, born in Scotland. At 18 years old, went to Belgium, then went to Germany at 20, went to Budapest, Austria at 21, then Budapest 21, later on in Slovakia, then moved to Switzerland, but then living in France to move in Switzerland, to work in Switzerland, which is a bit much to take at one time. But basically what I'm saying is to travel or to change countries is like changing the states in America. And
it's so fascinating. I'm gonna hop in right here because it's so fascinating, because as I talk to people and I uncover their stories each and every day, which is one of the blessings of my life right now, is I get to see a common pattern and a thread, which is relocation and mobility in everybody's life story. And it seems to be such a common thread. For me, it's been domestic, but I've moved 13, 14 times within the United States and in 5 different states. But for you, it's multinational. For several other people I've had on in the last few weeks, they're all expats, somewhere. And I just find it so interesting. And I wonder, and I guess I'm just going to ask you both this. I wonder if there is something to that, if there's a connection there between your personal journey and mobility and where you find yourself in mobility today.
Yeah, maybe if I can start answering that, I think you're absolutely right, because I think what helped me in my life and my career is, let's say, the international piece by traveling, by visiting, and I myself lived for some time in the LA area. I lived in Singapore for a year, and so I travel a lot still today. We're stuck now, but let's say I traveled over all these years over the planet, and I think what struck me is the fact that you meet all these different people with different cultures, and what for me always the common theme is that at the end of the day, people are all over the world. Whether you come to China, whether you come to the US, you go to South America or Africa, people at the end of the day want to have a happy life, good family life, and health, and basically those basic things in life don't change wherever you go on the planet and wherever you meet. And I think that is always the theme where you connect, where also when traveling, you start to understand the cultural differences much better than when you stay home in one country or in one state or in one place, because then you are blurred by whatever you take in from a media perspective or what else. So I think that helped me in my career a lot.
And you said something there, Wiebe, that I want to go back to, is that you've traveled the world and you found that basically people just care about making sure that themselves and their families have a better life and are comfortable and taken care of. And that's also become a theme over the last few weeks as I've talked to people who have been around the world. It's like across cultures, across geographies, even within a geography, but maybe across political parties, right?
Yeah.
At our center, whether you're conservative or liberal or whatever party you may have in your country, you really just want your family to have a better life. And if we can always remember that, right, at the end of the day, that we're all just people working towards a better life for our families, and how we get there may change, I think we're going to have a lot more empathy for one another and a lot greater understanding when we approach one another.
Yeah, and I would also like to add that I think that for the people who participate in our industry, that those who are not from the country where they come from, or who have traveled or have some certain difference in national ethnicity. What I mean by that is that they naturally fit to our business because they understand the different cultures. So many moving and relocation companies in the world have other citizens than that home country as part of their workforce, because first of all, it's a job that they can get into. They don't need to necessarily know the national language, but also they empathize and understand what's needed for our business.
Yeah, that's a great point. I want to talk because you're both European in the moving, logistics, and relocation space. And I think that there's an interesting perspective, and I want to capture this perspective here. I want to talk in terms of technology, because here we are, we're moving forward, we're hurtling forward. It seems almost more rapidly than ever. Take the pandemic out of the temporariness of the pandemic out of it, but we're just hurtling forward with technology so much. And I know from a U.S. perspective, and then I've talked to people from China over the last couple of weeks, and they talk about the Chinese perspective on technology. But I'd like for you both maybe to talk a little bit about the European perspective on where technology and innovation can and will take the moving and relocation industry.
Yeah. Maybe if I start, and I think it's good, Mark, you can hop in. I think I've been a very advocate of innovation and technology over the last decade, basically. What I've seen a lot myself up to the COVID crisis, that there was a lot of talking and not a lot of walking in our industry. So we've been redoing things all over the place, and getting an app was already very innovative, and having a cool website was the other thing, and that's basically where it stuck, And then I think the video survey, when it came in, that was a life shocking event for the industry. Where if you look at other industries, you don't see, let's say, they look at you, what an ancient industry you are, and we as a company took a step that we look at the airline industry. Whatever happens in the airline industry will happen into our industry. And we use that paradigm still today. And it's quite interesting if you see what happened there and what happened in our industry. So you will see that happening also in the coming year, because what my expectation is that due to COVID now, there's a big push now on a lot of things which were already there to really get it accomplished now. So to really digitalize the moving and relocation industry, really make tools available for our customers, for our clients, for our partners globally. So I think we're at a very interesting point in our lifetime.
I want to go back to something you mentioned there about the airline industry. So you drew a comparison there, and I think this is very interesting. I think about the airline industry all the time. I look at the way they conduct business. I look at the way that they look at capacity planning, the way they look at pricing.
Correct.
All sort levels of service that they offer, and all they're so much more sophisticated than we are, right? And I want to understand more what you see, and I want to share some thoughts too, perhaps.
So I'll share you two thoughts of that. So one is, let's say, the pricing aspect. So we are a commodity seen by our clients, not by the individual moving clients, but by the large corporates, relocation management companies see us as a commodity. let's say, but we've been treating it also as a commodity, we're giving it one price. And I always go back to the airline. If you sit in front of the plane or you sit in back of the plane, there's a different price tag to that. There's a different service level to that, and there's different terms and conditions. And I think, and deviating it more, there are people flying private jets, and there are people, let's say, going with cheap carriers. And they all are also in our space. And we need to much better identify in the process where these people are and who these people are. And don't confuse our customers with A, the service, and B, the price, because we can give a great service. But if these people are only used to economy service, it's too much. If we give a guy who's normally used flying private jets or first class, and we give them a business class service, we're also not hitting par. So I think that's one part of it where I think we'll see a lot of innovation coming in the next months till a year. Yeah. And I think the other one is more the management model. So I think I look at the model, what travel agencies do, and travel agencies charge management fee, but the price is flexible. And I think we as an industry are stuck to a year price or whatever, and that's not feasible anymore.
You mentioned two topics, and I want to touch on both of them, and I want to address them both individually because I think they're both phenomenal, and nobody's talking about this, right? So the moving industry, at least I can speak from what I've seen, we have some customers that say it's too expensive, and we have some customers and clients that say it's not good enough. The quality's not good enough, right? True. And so to your point, that's because I'm selling first class service to economy buyers. It's too expensive. Yep. And I'm giving economy service to first class buyers, and they're not happy with the service. So I have a misalignment. So I need to be able to bifurcate my service and say, oh, you want a cheaper option. Okay, I can give you a cheaper option. I can give you perhaps even less, maybe my B team cruise. I can give you do-it-yourself options. I can give you slower transit times. I can give you, I can shave in a lot of areas.
Correct.
And then for my first class clients, I really need to go a cut above even what I'm doing today.
I would just like to say that I think, Ben, with the utmost respect, I don't think you can ever say you're going to give a B team crew to anybody. I don't think that's the way to approach it. You always have to have your crew. You're going to have your crew, and then what people are going to pay for that they give extra. Now, that may mean you give a B team crew because that's what they've bought, but you can never say you're going to get a B team. You've always got to say...
I want to challenge this. I think this is good. I love when people disagree. I love when people can respectfully debate something, right? Because...
I mean, with respect. Don't misunderstand.
No. And we're good. But here's the thing. If I give you a VIP order, right? Your big client sends you the CEO of Mercedes-Benz, right? Good, congratulations. Mm-hmm. You got a great move, right? I'm pretty sure you have an A team that you're going to stick on that move. And I have a feeling one of their name might even be Mark, okay? So I know that there's going to be an A team out there, okay? Which by definition then lends to itself that there might probably also be a B team.
No, my argument is they have the team and they pay for what you get on top. Now, that might mean some of the team, if you only want me to pick your boxes off and put them A to B and no packing, no unpacking, it's not going to be the best guys that do it, but they can do the job. It's the same as the people in economy class are not the same people in first class. The people in first class are the more senior cabin attendants who will do it for you. Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is they're still officially the team, but you don't. I don't.
Yeah. I know that chair. I'm a big man. I know that chair in economy is about 4, 5, 6 inches narrower than that chair up front. And that chair might be my B team, and that might be my A team. So I don't know. I know what you're saying. You don't ever want to tell somebody, hey, we're going to intentionally give you a poor move or a less than substandard move. But I think some work has to be done there. Go ahead.
I'll give you an example. Our worksheets for our guys never say VIP, top level, anything. Our worksheets are always the same thing. Doesn't matter if you're COD or you're the top CEO. Our worksheets is this is the job to do. Now, does that mean that we don't brief our guys on top? Of course, we brief them, but we do not discriminate on our worksheets. What we do the same packing of a kitchen box for a CO do as we would do for the top CEO of a top 200 Fortune 200 company. So,
but Mark, don't forget to mention that digital these days, also with you.
Yes. I mean, to get back on the track, when we were talking about the digital side, which we were before, and I made some notes that were talking about it, there is no question that we are similar to the airplane industry. And the thing, or not similar, where we follow them. And what I mean by that was, if it wasn't for the airline industry, we wouldn't get people being used to video surveys. And what I mean by that is, remember the days when you used to go and get, maybe you don't, Ben, but I'm a bit older and so is Wiebe, but for us to get a boarding pass, you had to stand in line and get it from the lady at the check-in counter. You checked in and you got your boarding pass. I remember when we had to start printing it ourselves, we were like, oh my, no way. We have to print our own stuff. And slowly it became more and more normal. And now we're putting luggage tags on our bags, right? I mean, that's unheard of before. And because the airline industry and other industries have pushed this, our moving companies and relocation companies can follow after to make people self-serve themselves and justify lower prices and commoditization. Because the problem is sometimes we're trying to deliver 1990s service levels and style to 2020 reality, if you see what I mean.
I also want to go back to the pricing thing, because I think the pricing thing is incredible. And we have a ton of people checking. We got 32 people on LinkedIn. We got another 15 people on Facebook and YouTube. Please, guys, leave comments. Hit the like button. Celebrate. Maybe give the thought. I don't know about that, Ben. Whatever. Please leave that. We're going to get to all the questions, all the comments. That's my guarantee to you. But I want to also talk about this pricing thing with the airlines, right? Because as consumers, we are all accustomed to airline pricing. We get it. But for some reason, when we hear moving pricing, we lose our minds, right? So anyway, going back to the airline pricing model, I go on to Expedia or Delta or whatever, right? One of the carriers here. Yeah. And I'm looking for a flight over to see my friend over in the Netherlands, right? And it says there's 5 tickets left at $500, right? And I know if I wait till tomorrow and I don't book it, my trip to go see Wiebe, right, that it's going to be $600 tomorrow, right? And if I wait another week, it's going to be $750. And if I wait until 2 days before, it's going to be $1,500. And I'm going to say, damn it, I should have booked it 3 weeks ago, whatever. But I'm going to bite the bullet and I'm going to pay it because that's the cost. So what can we learn from that? Can we even incorporate that? Because right now, our largest buyers are asking us to guarantee our rates for a year or more. Yep. And here's the other thing I want to talk about too. I'm throwing a lot at you guys, okay? But I've thought a lot about this, so I'm happy you brought it up. Somebody says, I'm going to give you 100 moves. You give it to them at $1,000. Somebody says, I'm going to give you 300 moves. You give it to them at $900. Somebody says, I'm going to give you 1,000 moves. You give it to them at $850. But in reality, we have a finite amount of capacity. And in the stock market, in the hotel market, in the airplane market, the more you buy, the more the price goes up. Correct. It doesn't go down.
Exactly.
Capacity.
Exactly.
So why do we price it inverse of capacity?
I think if anybody could answer that question, I would love to hear. I'm on my 29th year in this industry, and this is something that doesn't make sense. I'll throw another strange one to you, where I know of somebody. I just took some storage out of a couple of colleagues' warehouses in Switzerland and put them into mine, and was then told that whenever these long-term storage contracts exit, they will have to be delivered at the price of 2017, regardless when the delivery will be. That could be tomorrow, it can be in 5 years' time. The 2017 prices must be held. Who has ever heard of contractual prices lasting 5 years or more? I mean, it's. I mean, who knows? We might be lucky. Oil prices might be down, and etc. But we seem to be the only industry that accepts. I would even call it being bullied by procurement or etc.
Maybe if I add on it, Ben, and I would use the word stupid for it, because that is, let's say, how we as an industry are. We are probably too concerned about a lot of things, our people, our staff, and we're very caring. But when it comes to losing a client, we're so scared to lose a client and to say no. So we bow and we bow. And I think you were absolutely right, because if you do more volume, I think, the price should go up at a certain point. And I think that's also where the differentiator will come long run, because there's other things, payment terms. You will have paid before your plane ticket, before you're in the air, Ben. No, you don't pay afterwards. We're an industry which is subsidizing big corporates with payments, which is so all these things, in my view, will come back over the next 6 months, year, 2 years, because in my view, it's all part of sustainability. And I think that is the next big thing in our industry where we're hitting a topic to now.
So I have a ton of questions and comments. Okay, Mark, go ahead. Give us a.
And if I may just add to this, because there's a huge, massive elephant in the room that nobody's thinking about.
Guys, I'm right here.
And that is, it's even bigger than you, Ben. Is all the moves, all the April, I don't know what it is in America, but in Europe, all the April and May moves that are non-existing have all been transferred to June and July and onwards. So how are we meant to do the traditional June and July moves and this extra stuff that's already pre-booked? I'm already last week of June, last week of July, I'm going to get technically fully booked within a week. Yeah. And that's without the real July and June moves coming, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there is a tsunami coming, and yet nobody says, I mean, everybody says, oh, you can charge a COVID-19 charge if you do it now. The COVID-19 charge has to be in the summer when we're doing the moves we can't do now. That's when the real surcharge has to come.
Yeah, good point. I would love to see a pricing model that fluctuated on a day of week of month of year basis.
Technology is there, Ben. So we also have technology coming, but the technology is already there. I think it's just the adoption by the industry and the adoption by the clients. That's the next phase. And I'm a positive guy. My personal belief is that will take an uptake going into next year already. So,
well, and the beautiful part about it is you'll always have a truck. You always have a man in a truck. That's the upside of dynamic pricing.
Correct.
The bad side is you don't know what the price is going to be, but there's always going to be capacity.
I mean, but to be true, there is technology. I do believe it's in Belgium and Holland where they already have national moving, where you can actually go online and it's just like buying a plane ticket. You get you want to move your 2-bedroom house on Wednesday the 15th, it's $500. If you want to move it on the 29th, it's $850. That technology is already existing.
So we got some great points here, and I want to get to these people. Eric Scorzelli from Victory, love Eric. Good point on menu of services, Ben. White glove differentiation has existed in the space for decades. Yes, but I would say. And then Eric Scorzelli goes on to say, and I like this quote a lot. He said, "Take as old as time." Here's a quote: "As old as time. You are only as smart as your dumbest competitor." So if you hold the line, but the guy next door to you does not, then you're only as dumb as your oldest competitor. And thank God we're not an association, because you could argue that we are colluding right now. Anyway, let's see. Thomas Cannellan, hi guys. Greetings from upstate New York. 2 days in a row, Ben. Yes, Tommy, good job for you, man. Make it 3. Marcel, hi Wiebe, Ben, and Mark. Great to see you. Let's see here. People are tagging other people. Very cool. Eric Scorzelli in Woodstock, New York. John Case. Hope to see the light at the end of the tunnel soon, as do we all, John. I feel like there's a glimmer in the distance right now. I'm afraid it's a train and not the light at the end of the tunnel. We'll see what happens. Let's see. Don Fisher says major corporations who buy in bulk, high volume, get reduced airfares and hotel rates. More volume doesn't mean more cost. Same thing with FedEx. You know, Don, you bring up a good point, right? Because when I call up Marriott and I say, yeah, I work for Northrop Grumman, they give me $100 a night. So you're absolutely correct, Don, about that.
Are the hotel rooms free in January, Don?
Yeah, good question. Correct. So Danny Vandermeer says, correct, Don, but the problem is the peak season in relocation. Don says COVID-19 is a game changer. It is, and we'll talk about that a little bit as well. Don goes on to say capacity is an issue. Finding alternatives to absorb capacity will be needed. And we're starting to see those, but we're also starting to see that the service level is also different with these alternatives.
Yeah, but also the different modes of transportation. So what you see happening in the European scale, is the traditional moving company, moving a shipment from, let's say, Sweden up to Spain with his own truck. That's completely disappearing, and we're getting to a really already a OADA model, and that whole in between is going to be completely general freight in the next years and so. There will be still dedicated moving trucks, but then going back to the airline model, that will be for that top tier, for the people sitting business class, first class, and they want to have, let's say, stringent transit times. But when you look at the big bulk, that will go more in consolidation, will more go in whatever it comes, but it's more driven by cost and things like that. So you will get more variation in that. That's at least my belief.
I think it's also down to expectations. In the old days, people, certainly in the European arena, when you ordered a moving company, they expected that moving company truck to come in front of your door, and packing material would come out of that big truck. It might even be there for 1 or 2 days. They would, two guys would pack it, load it, and then drive to the other side of the continent and deliver it.
Correct.
Nowadays, you sell the service, you sell the ability to do it, you sell the quality management, you sell the all the rest of compliance that goes with it, and then how you manage that as a logistics chain is the beauty of your moving company.
Good point. Got some folks checking in here. Got some questions coming in on Facebook as well. Hey, Tim Quirk. Uh-oh. Test him.
Yeah, don't die in this, Mark.
Yeah, please. Lee Pierpoint. Get too soon? All right. Lee Pierpoint, good evening from London. Good evening, Lee. Janet asks, I noticed that Mark and Wiebe have the same haircut. Are they COVID cuts or the regular look?
It's typical European style, Ben. So, yeah. So
in the States, we call that high-speed, low drag, right there.
Yeah, well, I'm Scottish, and Wiebe is Dutch, so we don't pay money for haircuts. That's the bottom line.
I like it. You pass that savings on to the customer, don't you?
Yeah, of course.
Steven Seligson, hi from Malloy Brothers on Long Island. He's having some problems watching this on LinkedIn, as we all are. If they actually showed when we went live on this thing, we'd have 100 people watching right now. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, I know that's awesome, right? Keep doing it. But if you find it hard to not, because you're not getting the live notifications, which happens to me even, go right now to Facebook. Go to facebook.com/LOVE+RELO. Like it, follow it, and subscribe for notifications. Or if you prefer watching on YouTube, just search Love and Relo YouTube and subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get notifications when we're live, so you can always you'll never miss an episode, and you can go back and watch old episodes, which you really can't do very well on LinkedIn. Okay. So and I get to show your fun little picture when you make a comment, which is nice too. Nice. Steven also rocking a COVID cut, and might have to check it out. Lee Pierpoint, the current situation has actually forced the British public to embrace video survey technology. Did you guys have an adoption issue in your countries with video survey? Were people like, I don't know about this, I don't want to download an app, or were people pretty easily adopted that?
Well, for me, the problem is us, so the industry. So we think the customer don't want it, but the reality is that when we enforced it with a client which is demanding it, then all of a sudden there was no hurdle, because and this is a client not using video technology, is now full on video technology. So, and that's what I'm realizing continuously also from a managerial point, is that persuading our staff to make change is very, very hard and very, very difficult, because we do what we used to do.
That's right. It's so funny because we're over here like, well, tell me about the European perspective. That's the exact same problem we're having over here in the States as well. I got more pushback from my salespeople than I do from my customers. Customers will do what I tell them to do. My salespeople are like, well, they like FaceTime, and they like the, no, they don't. They like what you tell them to like. Just give them the video survey, and it'll be great. Trust me.
I can tell you who's somebody who 3 years ago, when I changed my career for another organization, and they were starting to do video technology, and we examined this, we were getting some pushback because people didn't want to download an app for a one-time use, etc. So we then opened it up to doing WhatsApp and FaceTime, and that really opened it up a lot. But in the last 6 weeks of my life, I've never seen such an acceleration and understanding of technology. And quite frankly, I cannot see any business that I'm part of accepting that a physical survey is the first thing that we do. So we will do a video survey first of all, and if we need added information, we might just even send a packer around to check what we need, or if really necessary, we'll send the manager, surveyor, etc. to go and do it. But the default has to be now, first let us see what you've got, we'll decide if that's good enough, and if we need to, we can still get that personal service and come around and have a quick look. But that survey, if you think about it, from a video survey done before, and then you need to do it, instead of being another hour and a half in the residence, it's going to be 10, 15 minutes. I need to check that picture. I need to check that access, whatever it is, right? I mean, some of it's even non-confrontational. In other words, I need to look at the address from the outside. I don't need to actually meet the client, So we can...
There's another thing to it, Mark, is that, let's say, with the shipment size declining, we as movers think it's very, very important whether to estimate it is a 1,200 pound shipment or a 1,400 pound shipment.
Yeah,
but the customer don't care. So I think we also have to come across a little bit from more to the standardization and commoditization of the house of goods itself. So, and that's where all kinds of video technology will help going forward. And I think the video will help us also to bring the customer service to another higher level. That's my personal opinion. To really have, let's say, from day one, you have a single point of contact which really taking care of you from start to finish. And
I totally agree.
Personal contact for the video.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I mean, if you do 10 surveys and one of them is slightly wrong in volume, up or down, the margin error, and with the commoditization, our pricing decreases, etc. This is absolutely necessary for our industry.
Great points. It's funny. So it's funny about technology, right? Technology. I got young children. I got 1 and 4-year-old boys, right? Technology is like the broccoli on the plate. Okay, you're gonna eat the broccoli. Are you gonna sit there all night and stare at it, or are you gonna eat it right now and then go have a cookie and go play for the rest of the night? You're gonna eat it eventually. So 5 years ago, video survey technology came out, and we all sat there looking at it like we didn't want to eat it. And here we are. And if you're not eating the broccoli, you're dead. Okay, at this point. So you got to eat the broccoli. So you just might as well eat it. It's technology, guys.
And the next thing that's going to be even more fascinating is that with predictive analytics and with data, we can predict what the amount of house of goods will be in a house. So I think the long run, let's say in 2, 3, 4 years from now, is that we can predict that in Bancross's house there's an estimated 1,500 cubic feet, or because of the location, because of the family size, because of we can predict that. So that's really the next steps coming, and that's already being tested in smaller portions.
I like it. I think you're totally right. There's a joke in the United States that people would do drive-by surveys. They count the windows, and they'd multiply times 1,500 pounds, and there's your weight. And we joke about that. It's like, well, I could do four drive-by surveys this morning, go have a beer by 1 o'clock. But that's funny, is predictive analytics is going to get us right back to doing these count the window surveys, but with a lot more information that goes into it.
And it's also the same reason why insurance will disappear over time, because we know already what will be damaged or not. So it's going to be very interesting going forward.
Very interesting. Brian Rivers with a record catch there. Got to go fishing with you, Brian. Love Brian. Brian's always been tuning in lately. It's been really cool. Mel Smith has some questions here, so we're gonna answer some questions. What are lessons learned that you can share to help us professionally and personally manage isolation? And then second question, what are your governments doing to keep you economically viable?
Okay.
Mark, take it on.
Well, I can give you 2 very good stories about that. On a personal level, being in lockdown since the 15th of March, and our next time we're going to be allowed out of the house properly, I hope, will be the 11th of May. We've been allowed out 1 hour per day for go a walk, not less than 3/4 of a mile from our house. We're allowed to do shopping if it's one of us. and of course go to the doctor if necessary, or help somebody that's in need in our family. But effectively, we're in shutdown. What I've tried to do for the family is just keep them occupied. And I'll give an example. We spent one night where I've got a lot of camping stuff. The kids took it out the cellar actually, and we camped outside and did a outside camping with a fire and everything for a night outside. I've built a ramp from them to go up and down with their bikes. The two boys today, actually, I forgot this, Ben. The boys have made this for you. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh,
that's
man.
A Love and Relo heart, which has been carved. So that literally was cut out of a piece of wood with a saw and sanded down and written on by them. And that's from Martin and William for you, Ben. So Love and Relo.
That's precious. Thank you.
But that's what they're doing. We're just trying to keep them occupied as much as we can and stay sane. But it's challenging. I will not deny that it's challenging. And if the four of us come out of this in a sane way, I'll be very happy. And then very quickly, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, Wiebe, tell us what you're doing to stay sane and how you're managing isolation, and then we'll talk about the government assistance.
Yeah, so the isolation, let's say we're in the Netherlands, luckily in an intelligent lockdown, as they call it. So I'm able to maneuver and to do things, but I'm with a family, two teenage daughters. They are studying at home. I have to stay home, and we're now in what is it, the fourth week, and it's getting challenging. Let's call it like that.
Right. Sure.
So it's tough for the family because people are working from home. They can't see, grandfathers, grandmothers, they get afraid also that they influence their grandfathers and grandmothers to die because they were the ones. So it's kind of a mental circle at the moment, kind of that.
So I want to ask you both a question before we get to the government assistance piece. Here in the States, it's been a trend for people to own less and less stuff, to downsize, to live in more, urban centers and walkable environments and things like that. To value experiences over possessions. Has that been a trend where you are as well in Europe? And then B, do you see that trend reversing with the idea of being isolated in your home and having to work from home, work out and exercise at home, play at home? The home becomes everything. Your home becomes your world.
I think. A twist on that, which I mentioned to my wife actually 2 days ago, was I do believe that home or residence architecture is going to change. I think there's going to be a demand for people. So let's start with new builds. New builds are going to have design for home office environments. That means, because I already talked to one major relocation company, a friend of mine who works there, saying, we've got to move office next year, but we were going to get a bigger one, but we're not going to do that anymore because we now know people can work from home efficiently. So I think people are going to have residencies that are designed with home office areas that are, not like mine, which is open space, but will be later closed, maybe even be able to be, security locked, even with different internet structures. I don't know, but there will be a design for, or for example, it's an office. When you come in the front door, it's immediately the front door. It's not inside the house. So if a visitor does want to come, I think the whole architecture of residencies are going to change. I think that's in fact, that's almost a new business model.
Maybe more soundproofing, right?
Yeah,
maybe more little kind of closet telephone booth style things where you can do a video conference and just kind of be in on it.
Yeah, with a tidy area behind you or something.
So like I have an office that's actually a pretty nice size in my home, but I could actually chop this into probably 3 or 4 cubicles. Where I work from home, my wife works from home, my kids are in school remote, and we could all share like a quiet space if it was done properly.
Precisely.
I love that idea. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting you mentioned that, Mark, but I also see there's an opportunity for our industry to focus more on what's in the home. So, and I think that helps us to have a longer connection with people we're moving. So because there will be much more activity, also in my view, around the home, people will spend more money probably also on the home again. So
Yeah,
and I think not only do we move stuff, because I'll tell you in this country, and I think it might be a little different in Europe, but we move stuff, but we don't like to install things. We don't like to do a lot of wiring and a lot of AV stuff and hang TVs and run surround sound and wire, an audio video podcasting setup, But that might really be something we need to look at is how do we spend more time in the home, provide more service, monetize that customer further instead of sourcing it to all those types of third parties and other things.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I agree.
Real quick, because we have a lot of things to talk about. We only got like another 15 minutes. So, government assistance as far as each of your countries, has the government done enough to help you? Do you wish they did more? I
think we both are lucky, Mark.
Yeah, so far the Swiss government has been very good. They've given assistance to employees that you cannot give them 100% work. They're giving assistance to paying their salaries. Even partial assistance to owners like myself. Of course, it's nothing near what we get, but it's definitely a big help. They're giving financial loans for helping liquidity so that everybody can pay their bills. I think if the COVID goes on if we get not past the middle of the summer, if we can get back to work then, I think the Swiss government have done an excellent job. I mean, stellar job, quite frankly.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep.
Same here.
Good. Watching on YouTube. Good to hear you call my name. Interesting conversation. Yes, cool. Jamie Master says, sounds like green screens will be flying off the shelves for new virtual offices. I have a green screen right here, actually. You guys haven't had an occasion to use it, but it's coming out soon. So just if anybody wants to sponsor and be behind my head right now, I am for sale.
My son was doing homeschooling with one of our laptops with Zoom, and he figured out that his room is green, and then he realized that it was picking up as a green screen. So now he can have anything behind him. So you don't even have to spend the money on a green screen. Just paint it green, you're fine.
So that's great.
That's cool.
We have a very specific question here. That is a layup of a plug here for Pricepoint. Ben Heller sent the check to my home office. Thank you. How do you see Pricepoint is shaping the industry?
Maybe I can answer that. I think they were a front runner in a new model, in a new way of approach. And I think that helped to gear up more change. So I think that's really something they pulled off. And I think it's interesting to watch over the next probably the next 1 or 2 years how they can develop that further and what else is coming. Because I think this is a space where there will be a lot of innovation coming, but also change. Because again, with technology, part of the auditing function will change because we can do that in real time with all the technology we're rolling through. So I think that is a big thing. And I think with also on the pricing side, what we say back to the airline model, I think Pricepoint models like Pricepoint also should have the capability in their systems to be able to have that market pricing dynamic and also specify it per service and per move.
I fully agree, and as somebody who's quite how shall we say, active in working on Pricepoint rules, it can be considered unfair, but on the other side, it's fair. In other words, there's all these different rules, and according to those rules, you have to do the delivery or the packing. But if it's above XYZ, you can get this. If you've got this, you can get it. And if you've got the justification, proper justification, you get paid. And that's exactly what it is. It's like the EasyJet model, which is the budget airline. You know, if you want to sit at the second row of the plane on a budget airline, you pay a little bit more. If you want to have a first in line to get on top of the plane, you know, you pay for it. And I think Pricepoint is getting close to what Wiebe is talking about.
So you're saying there's A seats and B seats.
Correct, and even C and D.
Yeah,
there's a rock in the back of the plane. Go sit on that. There you go.
Yeah, but you also have the different toilet. Yeah, but also different terms and conditions. I think don't forget about that one. That let's say the plane is the same. Going back to the moving crew is the same, but it's all about the terms and conditions. They make the change.
Exactly. I totally agree.
Let's see what other comments we've got. Janet loves the Scottish joke about shaving your head to save a little money. She loves that. She also lets people know on LinkedIn, if you are looking for Love and Relo, you can always go to my profile, Ben Cross, and then find it there when it posts. And we will get better. Actually, Janet is doing a phenomenal job of helping schedule things in advance. So we'll put out a calendar with times so that you'll know, and you could set a little timer there. But if anybody else has any suggestions on how we can alert people better, again, I highly recommend YouTube and Facebook to follow us on there to get alerts. Jennifer Anderson, hello from Long Island. Jennifer from Claim Shield. Thank you, Jennifer, for checking in. I think that might be a new name. And then this is interesting. This is a great little segue to a question I had written down here. Sandra says, time to write your book, Wiebe. And that is actually a question I have. Wiebe, tell me about this book I hear that you have a desire to write.
Well, I've been telling that for some time already. You know, I think if you really go back to what I enjoy the most about this industry, it's all about storytelling. So I think with the three of us, we can keep on talking for the next 2-3 days, you know, just with stories we've envisioned over our life. And some of these stories are just immense, you know. So, and I always said, you know, if we would be able to capture that, let's say, in a book, you know, then I think that would be a best-selling hit, because we can explain much better also to our corporate audience and to our individual audience, you know, what happens. And, you know, I'm 30 years, let's say, in this industry, of which the first 5-6 years as a student packer when I was in college, and I was doing pack jobs, and then I roll into that, but later on much more in the relocation side of things. But if you just hear the stories, you know, I think that's an ambition. And I think when I pulled it out, you know, I think we're getting some time maybe, and then during this COVID crisis, maybe be a good start for that. So that's some challenge. Yeah.
You know what else too? I mean, we could actually do an anthology of stories. So everybody in the moving industry or the relocation industry could submit their craziest story. You could put them all together into one kind of book.
Yeah,
and that could be a lot of fun.
What about an ebook? What about an ebook?
My question is, how many people apart from movers would believe they actually happened?
Maybe the relocation consultants. That's about it, you know. Yeah. But yeah,
they would say, "What are you smoking tonight, guys?" I mean, some of them are.
And then you say, "Well, actually, my client was smoking crack." One time, I showed up to a client's house in Dallas. The son was sitting on the front porch smoking crack. You know, and then ended up taking a swing on the driver and saying he stole an iPhone and some gift cards to Walmart. And it's like, what is going on here? Like, I'm just I'm doing a professional corporate relocation, and you don't expect to run into these problems, you know?
No.
Let's see here. We got Julie Coleman. Hello, Ben. Great conversation. Hey, Julie. Julie was on the show last week. Julie, my wife made me change my Picasso out for something a little less risque. Because there were boobs in it, and so now I have flowers. So, you know, whatever. I got to make the wife happy, right?
I don't think in Europe you would have that problem. I don't think.
Well, yeah, because Picasso was European, but in America, forget about it. Here's a question from Steve Lewis. Great job, all. How do we educate our clients and RMCs to understand the new normal? Cheers, Steve Lewis.
He's a legend in the industry, so that's a good question from Steve. I think the understanding comes from telling stories. I think it starts with getting into the conversation and also elevating the pitch at the right level. I think so. So talking more in practicality, I think we should look outside the borders of our industry. I think that will help us a lot to reconvene, let's say, also the conversation at the corporate level and at the RMC level. So. Just look at what's happening in ancillary industries, what's happening in the hotel industry or in the travel industry or in the leisure industry. I think that helps a lot to bring that back to the corporations, where they start then understanding that it is strange that you buy, let's say, with Amex, you buy all your air tickets and you pay a premium, and then the ticket price will vary as you buy a move. then all of a sudden that's changing. So I think that will help a lot going forward.
I think definitely as well. I think you've gone like in a bell curve where at the beginning RMCs were not part of the supply chain, and no doubt they are a massive buyer of the services that we provide nowadays. But in the long term, the information and the modern world is going to eliminate the need for a party above the supplier. Now, that might be technology, it might be something else, but I'm not saying RMCs don't have value, and they will have their time and their need. And it's like everything, there's still travel agents who exist, right? Travel agents still exist and people buy from travel agents, but it's not the norm. And I do believe that our industry will reposition itself to become closer to the client, but in a different way. And I can't even tell you the way it will be yet, but I think it will be different.
So I'd like to answer this question, Steve, and thank you for chiming in, Steve. You don't learn anything from talking to yourself. And here we are having to talk about moving, but the people that are watching are the relocation community. And so hopefully the relocation community is learning something about moving from people who know what they're talking about, having a pretty candid, open conversation. And it's an hour long, so we're getting into nuances and we're digging deep and we're challenging each other and we're kind of disagreeing on some points and agreeing and expounding on other points. And those are the kinds of conversations that need to happen. Just like I tell the relocation industry, don't go to Worldwide ERC and expect to convince somebody anything about relocation. You need to go to SHRM and convince the HR people about relocation.
Talent management.
Movers don't need to go to moving conferences to convince relocation people. They need to go to relocation conferences. So sometimes we end up having these kinds of conversations in the wrong room. So sometimes movers get together and we're like, oh, those RMCs, they don't understand, right? Well, don't tell me, go tell them, you know? And RMC's like, oh, these corporate folks don't understand. Well, don't tell us. Go tell the corporate people at SHRM. So sometimes we always have to make sure, are we standing in the right room when we're having the conversation? And I think this forum right here, Love and Relo, and this is why I designed it. So many people tell me, they say, Ben, you really need to stop doing all this relocation stuff and start doing more moving stuff. I'm like, you don't get it. We don't need to tell each other that we need to charge more or do something with our service. We all know that. We need to tell them that. And so my point is we need to always make sure we're in the right room for the conversation that we're having. And I think forums like this and people like you who are open and smart and are sharing your stories and are sharing your best ideas and bringing it forward in a bold way and are unafraid to actually put it out there, because let's be honest, every opinion, people don't agree with, whatever, that's fine, but are actually willing to put it out there. These are the kinds of conversations that need to be had, and I'm just very fortunate and blessed to be able to provide a platform for people like you.
Ben, if I may, just because there's one thing I really want to ask you on this forum tonight is, I'm sure you heard of Joe Rogan, the podcaster, probably the most famous podcaster in the world, right?
Yes.
Yeah, do you watch him at all? Have you seen?
I've seen a couple episodes. I saw the one where he did it with Jake the Snake, the wrestler. Yeah. I enjoyed that. I saw the Dr. Phil one too. I've seen a couple. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this guy's got, I don't know, 9 million subscribers. He does almost every day a 2 to 3 hour podcast. A lot of it on UFC because he's a UFC commentator, but also in a lot of other interesting factors. And I must say that it's for me almost a daily. I can't say I watch it because I can't spend 2 to 3 hours a day watching something, but I certainly will put it in the car and listen to it, or when I'm going to sleep at night, fall to sleep with it. But I must say, and I've got to say this before we finish off, that I was always wanted to do a podcast, the Joe Rogan style, for the relocation and moving business, and I think you've nailed it on the head. And I think you need all the support you can from everybody who's listening and part of you just now. I would encourage everybody to reach out to you and give their opinions and be part of your podcasts and get this community growing, because something like what you do can be a movement for our industry, not just internally, but externally as well, to teach RMCs, to teach corporate clients about what people are really thinking, I mean, I think you're still at baby steps, but very good baby steps. And I mean, from my perspective, whatever support you need, I'm in. That's all.
Thank you, Mark. That means the world to me. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I didn't think of myself as the Joe Rogan of the mobility industry, but
no, you're the beginning. You're the beginning, Ben. You're the beginning. Yeah. We don't have anything else to start this, and Joe Rogan is now on his 1700th podcast. 1700. I mean,
yeah.
You know,
well, I'm at 50. I'm at 55. You know? I think this is 56 right here. So okay. You know, I'm coming for you, Joe. So watch out. Thank you, though, Mark. I appreciate that. You know, and you know what I really wanted to do when I did this. A, I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. B, I wanted to get a lot of repetition. And C, I wanted to recreate the kinds of conversations that we have at like an IAM. You know, or an ERC or whatever, where we get together, you know, once a year and have a beer and kind of talk about, you know, everything from life and coming up and figuring out our career and who we are as people and having a family and how does that play, and then the deeper issues and the micro and macroeconomic factors of our industry and what are our hopes and dreams and wishes for our industry and what are the things people need to hear and need to talk about, and just wanting to create that platform that people can come out and, you know, everybody can't create a podcast, but a lot of people can be a guest on one. And that's what I want to do. I want to provide an opportunity in the space.
But Ben, you're creating transparency. You're creating real transparency, honest transparency, and it will become, I tell you now, between thousands of people, transparency, and it will become something where if we want to focus on, we can even refer to what was said on your podcast. Mark my words, I see it coming, and like I said, whatever we can do to help you, we're in.
Thank you, and I hope that people will share this with their friends and will encourage other people to subscribe, because you know, sometimes LinkedIn's not pushing out the live alerts. Sometimes people don't even know what's happening. People will tell me, "Oh, you should talk to so-and-so." I'm like, "Well, I had them on 2 weeks ago." Or, "Oh, you should really tackle this." I'm like, "Well, we talked about it Tuesday." Or, "You should have," you know, but people just aren't even aware sometimes, you know? And so I just hope that people understand the YouTube channels out there, the Facebook, again, facebook.com/love-and-relo spelled out. I hope that people can just get involved with that. And again, I do this for you guys. Honestly, I do. So I hope that people find a benefit to it. And if there's any topics that you're seeing or anybody that you say, hey, this person has a voice, this person has a story that needs to be heard. There's a topic that nobody's talking about, the elephant in the room that nobody's discussing. I want to put that front and center. Yesterday we had Steve John from Home Services and Gary Connerly on, and they were talking about the zero fee model with relocation, you know, and you mentioned to it earlier, you alluded to it earlier about having a fixed fee to manage. There's things like that frankly associations can't even talk about because they have sponsors and they have antitrust guidelines that prohibit them from talking about pricing, and they just get so freaked out, you know, whereas with me, it's like, frankly, it's free speech. So, you know, I encourage people to come on if they have these types of things that want to get talked about. So thank you, Mark, and I'll get off my soapbox, but thank you, Mark and Wiebe. I appreciate you both.
Thank you very much, Ben.
I have a couple of don't think you're off the hook, Wiebe. I have a couple of more comments here as well to get through as well. Vendium Global, which is Andrew Bruzzi's company. Excellent point, Ben. Echo chambers do not help anyone. Yeah, I call it drinking our own bathwater. You know, it's like I walk into to work and I'm like, how are we doing? Oh, we're doing great. We're providing excellent service. How, you know, I think the same. I concur. It's like nobody ever gets anywhere by that, right? Oh. So we have to get outside of our bubble, you know?
Yeah. True. Yeah. Absolutely true.
Matthew Odick. How do I?
Yeah, he's a Danish guy, so difficult language.
Matthew. Hi, Matthew. Yeah.
Matthew, same, some spot on comments. Also follow the 1 to 2 with Thomas Bailey. Yes, we did the gross up with Thomas. I did 20 episodes with him on that. We're going to get that back started. We're actually, I'll give you guys a sneak peek. We're working on something with IAM, a partnership. You know, knock on wood, that we actually go do this in October. But we will be there and doing a lot of live content from the IAM show. So that's going to be exciting with Thomas. Sandra Clary, you're exactly correct, Ben. This is a great forum for that. Thank you, Sandra. Yves Therin, Mathieu, bet you do. People are comment, and the other thing, people are showing a lot of love to each other in the comments, and that's the other thing. I hope to influence the way that we talk to each other and how loving people can be. I want to ask you. Let's see here before we go, because we're almost at the end of our time here. In fact, we're over our time. But there's a couple of stories that were shared with me, and I want to go back to them. And this one right here, I have to ask, what the hell is going on? Okay. An entire office getting tattoos or piercings as team building experiences. What the hell goes on? So
this goes back to the days back in Budapest, what I would call the Wild East. It was 2003. I arrived in 95 in Budapest, Hungary, in Eastern Europe, just after the Berlin Wall fell down. We had created a team of almost everybody the same age, and by the time 2003, 2004, get me right, it's 2005. So it was 2005. We're all in our mid-30s, 32 to 35 years old. And it was 12 people in the office, and I came back from Dublin, Ireland with a tattoo. And my right hand at the time, I phoned her today to ask if I could use her name, so she said yes. So Melinda Varga, my office manager at the time, she said, "Oh, I've always wanted a tattoo." And I said, "Well, you know what? I'm really happy with your work, etc. I'll pay for any tattoo that you want." And she's like,
what a benefit. What a unique perk out there, guys. Any employer out there want to know what do employees really want? They want tattoos. And I know a guy that got that gets one of his coordinators' nails done every couple of weeks if he hits a goal. That's so funny.
So somehow this went to the receptionist, Rita, who it's a long story, but she came down and said, "Well, if Melinda's getting a tattoo, I'd love a piercing on my belly." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Oh, well, fair enough. Okay." And then before I knew it, and this is not a joke, it went viral. And I had the whole office, and everybody either wanted a piercing or a tattoo. So the next stop was logistics. So we took a tattoo and piercing parlor for a day. Everybody had appointments. They got their tattoos and piercings, and then at the end of the day, we went for a big night out and had a nice party.
And then you go tie one on afterwards. I love it. I commented #free tattoos. Oh my gosh.
And I even have the photograph here, which if anybody wants proof, I can send it to them. I had Melinda send it to me today. I said, "Melinda, can you send me that photograph?" She goes, "Yes."
So Mark, come up with the Love and Relo tattoo, So I think that's, that's going to be the new trend going forward, Ben. So
yeah, that's excellent.
So if anybody says, bungee jumping or bowling or anything is team building, forget it. It's not the way to go.
No.
Oh my gosh. That's
there's a difference between the wild days in Eastern Europe and civilization in Western Europe, Mark. So.
I'm not sure that they could do it in a multinational nowadays, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're running out of time here. This has been a blast. These conversations and these stories have been phenomenal. We had 27 people hanging on to the end on LinkedIn. We got 13 on Facebook still. I'm always so honored by how many people actually hang in there and watch an hour.
Thank you, everybody.
Everybody tells me my stuff is too long and it should be shorter, and I tell them to go take a long walk off a short pier. I don't really care what you think. I'm making it for the people that hang in there till the end, okay? That are in 58 minutes in, okay? But at the end, I always ask everybody, for the people that are hanging in there, my guests, what do you want to leave folks with? Wiebe, Mark?
Wiebe, go first.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think stay close to your core values, stay close to who you are, also in the midst of this crisis. But also think outside the box. So don't start to get afraid. Don't start to get in conservative panic mode. But this is the real time to really outside the box, really take that next step. And you need bravery for that. So I think I wish a lot of bravery to the industry and a lot of leadership for people really taking those steps. because it's necessary to survive. It is necessary to stay relevant. So, but that's my wish. I think the industry, and I think good team going forward as well.
And Mark?
Well, first of all, Ben, Joe Rogan always does 3-hour podcasts, so 1 hour is never going to be too much, okay? And please listen to him every day. You're going to get a lot of inspiration, trust me. So, and the other thing, that's what I say for you, and thank you for the most amazing experience. And to everybody else, I would say, if you're a provider, believe in what you do, believe in your service. Don't give it away as a commodity that is valued as nothing. These are not just people with arms and legs. These are people with arms, legs, and brains, and you need to pay for the brains, not the arms and legs. You know the story of the old man who fixed the ship because it couldn't leave the port, and it took him 5 minutes to fix it and charged $1,000. And somebody said, well, it was only 5 minutes. Why is it $1,000? He said, because it took me 25 years to get that knowledge, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what people are paying for. They're paying for our knowledge and not paying for our 5 minutes. So that's the only thing I can continue to say. And I love your expression, Ben, of drinking our own bath water. Let's get out of the bath water and educate the people around us of what they need to know. And again, and Ben, I've never met you. I've only met you once on a virtual drink, but I do believe this podcast can be one of our ways to get out of this. That's for sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Big virtual hugs. You guys make me feel so good. It is always the best time of my day is doing these shows, and this is no exception. So thank you so much for being so open. Thank you everybody for watching this. Just remember to be kind and love one another and be empathetic. And I wish you also, I wish you all success in coming out of COVID, and just staying positive and staying aggressive, in your business planning and strategizing. But always remember to love your families, love your coworkers, love your neighbors, even if you don't agree with them, and take care of yourself out there. So I'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Stay safe. Thank you, Ben. Thank you. Stay.